Hello everybody and welcome to I'm sacrificing my lungs so you don't have to. It's really smoky out there, but I'm going to be out here birding. I'm going to check out these irrigation ponds that I'm at right now, and then we're going to head off to a lake. But it's definitely hitting migration season, and this smoke, I'm wondering if it might displace some birds, so there might be some rare birds out there. So let's go check it out. Alright, I've made it out to these ponds. I'm heading up here. And this property is private, and it's managed by individuals who are on site managing the water and everything else about it. And it's been a while since I've asked permission to be here, but this guy drove by and he is probably the nicest manager I've ever met. And he said, "Hey, go right ahead. It's totally good." But that's the cool thing. All you really need to do is ask. Most people are nice about it, and you're not hurting anything. You're just looking. So yeah, don't be afraid to ask for permission to visit some of these places. Alright, we got our first little group of birds here. It's a group of red-necked phalaropes. These guys are really fun to watch because they tend to spin in circles. But yeah. It's a little black-necked stilt over here. They're really fun. Just wading through the mud. I just noticed this little guy out on the rocks in the middle of this pond. Looks like a spotted sandpiper. A little lesson on shorebirds. Spotted sandpiper is one of the easiest to spot because they'll dip their butt up and down pretty much the entire time they're walking around. So they're pretty easy to identify just because of that. But they're also just, they're very clean cut. There's not a lot of streaking. There's not a lot of barring or markings. There's a second one that just came into frame here. But they do have spotting on the front, hence spotted sandpiper. But for the most part, they're kind of just brown up top, grayish/white down below. So pretty easy to identify. So this is what I'm working with here. It's a beautiful little area. These ponds are normally full, but by this time of year they've pretty much drained them. So I'm looking anywhere along these edges for any shorebirds. So I'm looking for sandpipers, things like that, stilt, maybe some godwits, doe witchers, things like that. Out in the middle there are some Canada geese. There's some mallards and such, kind of closer or farther out. I'm not too interested in those, mostly because the likelihood of there being something rare among those are pretty small in this area. But every once in a while I will look at them just cause. But yeah, pretty cool little area. I'm about to walk up this road to get closer to some of the birds over there. Quite a bit closer to these phalaropes now. You can really see some of the features that make these red-necked phalaropes. You can see a little bit of the red on the neck. That is one feature. You can also see the black stripe kind of around and encompassing the eye that does not connect to the rest of the bird. That's a distinctive feature of red-necked phalarope as opposed to our other species, which is Wilson's phalarope. They're not going to have that black mark around the eye. They're also kind of stubby overall. Their necks are short, beaks are pretty short. It's not something like a Wilson's phalarope is going to look quite a bit more elongated. But yeah. I've just noticed some sandpipers way over here, so I'm going to walk so I can get closer to them and identify them. Alright, I'm a little bit closer to these sandpipers, and I'd be lying if I said I'm an expert on sandpipers. There's so many different species. They all look very similar, but I can at least tell you the identifying features that you need to be looking for. One thing is bill length. That's a big one, because especially out here you're going to be trying to differentiate between western sandpipers and a variety of other species. These guys have relatively short bills, as in the bills are not longer than the head is long. that would identify them probably closer to least sandpiper. One other thing that would confirm least sandpiper is yellow legs. I'm pretty sure I'm seeing yellow legs on all of these, but there's at least one, the one in the middle here that I'm not 100% sure on. It's pretty difficult to tell often. The other thing I'm looking at is kind of overall color. Is it reddish? The other thing is like a scalloped look. When that happens when a lot of the feathers kind of have a whitish border. That's something that I'm looking for. I'm also looking for streakiness along the sides of the bird. These guys have streakiness kind of along the neckline. I think that's pretty typical for least sandpiper, but I'm going to do a little bit of researching here and see if I could come up with a better identification. Oh, and there is a black-necked stilt right there. Little baby. Of course, we can't not point out the red-tailed hawk, and of course, as soon as I start the video, he poops. Birds. But yeah, this guy's been watching me for the whole time I've been sitting here, so. Pretty cool, big adult red-tail. So I was talking about Wilson's phalarope earlier, and here's one of them. Hopefully the identification points that I mentioned regarding the red-necked phalarope makes sense in reference to this guy. You notice that there's a little bit of black around the eye, but really not enough to say, hey, that's a red-necked phalarope. It's got just a tiny little streak. And look at how long-necked this guy is and how long and slender that beak is. In addition, the red is kind of a general wash that is around the entire neck area rather than just kind of the back of the neck like it was in the red-necked phalarope. And it's a little bit more just kind of a paley orangey, nothing too prominent going on there as far as red. Yeah, there he is. This is actually one of the few species, well, phalaropes in general. They're one of the few species, oh, he's so cute. They're one of the few species where the female is prettier than the male. So this is a male, and the females are quite a bit prettier than this guy is. He's pretty drab, kind of just grayish, brownish, not much going on. The female is significantly prettier, and I'd like to find one, but I'm not seeing, I really don't see any out there, so that's too bad, but poor guy's all by himself. Apparently while I was watching those sandpipers, an entire flock of white-faced ibis flew in and I didn't even notice. So these guys are super fun to watch. It's backlit, I apologize for that. But let me get this a little bit tighter. But yeah, they've got, there's not much else like them. There is glossy ibis. There's some people who are experts at identifying the differences between those. I'm not one of them. But in general, you're very safe here in Idaho to just call them white-faced ibis. Every once in a while you get a glossy ibis. Somebody will find one, or there'll be a hybrid, which is crazy. But for the most part, they all look like this. They look black. If you get them in the right lighting, I'm going to see if I can get some better lighting here. They're actually iridescent, so they've got some like greenish, purplish colors going on in the right lighting. But they also have that long, down-curved beak / bill, whatever you want to call it. That's a pretty cool identification feature that is... I'm not sure anything else really has anything quite like that here. But yeah, let me see if I can get a little bit of a better angle on these so they aren't quite so backlit. He probably just flew by. There he is. Good old great blue heron. Man, they are pretty. Not much else to say about those. They just kind of speak for themselves. Hey! I've been kind of waiting for one of these to show up. This is an American avocet. Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure. They're pretty distinctive. They've got that kind of reddish-orange head. The beak is long and up-curved, which is a pretty unique feature. I'm pretty sure around here the only other bird that has an up-curved bill would be godwits, I think, another shorebird. Oh, that's cool. You can see them doing their sweeping motion with the bill. That's how they feed. Yeah, these guys are pretty cool. They breed up in mountain lakes and then they migrate down through here. Yeah, that's cool. Sweep, sweep. I'm not exactly sure the mechanism that's going on there. I'm not exactly sure why that works. But oh, there's a second one. Sweet. They are pretty communal. I'd pretty much never see one by itself. Cool. Is that another one over here? Yeah, there is another one. Okay. There was just a flock of 4 that flew in, and for some reason I thought they were black-necked stilts, but nah, they're avocets. So, 1, 2, 3, 4. They are black and white, so, you know, they're kind of like black-necked stilts. Okay, here's a better look at our white-faced ibis. Oh yeah, you can actually see the kind of greenish color, especially on that middle one there. Yeah, this one has it too. Oh yeah, you can definitely see it. Yeah, check that out. Such a cool bird. I feel like there's been a lot more here this year than there have been. Like, I've seen huge flocks flying over pretty much in random places while I've been driving. Oh no, don't all fly away. Ah, they're all gonna fly away now. Oh, they're so pretty. Let's see. Oh, sweet, there's a godwit. Shoot, I don't think I'm gonna be able to show you this. He'll probably land somewhere at some point, but I was literally just talking about the godwit as far as upturned beaks go. You know, there's the avocet, there's the godwit. Of course, he landed all the way back where I just came from, but there he is. Yep, definitely a godwit. There are different species of godwit. The default here is marbled. I don't think... I'm pretty confident the likelihood of any of the other ones is pretty much 0. This one looks pretty normal. I'll do a little bit of looking though. But yeah, beak is not near as upturned as it is in the avocet, but definitely a slight upturn. That's something that's not super common in shorebirds. So if you see that, it's a distinctive feature. So it's something you can use to identify it. Alright, I think I've pretty much exhausted this pond, and now I'm going to go over, there's another pond over that direction. I'm going to go ahead and walk over there. Okay, this is the kind of view that I like having of sandpipers. Oh, you can see it so much better. Yellow legs, kind of a medium-sized bill that's a little bit droopy. Not any particular strong coloration. Decent amount of scalloping on the back. Barring that extends just to the kind of neck and chest area, but not farther down the sides. Very typical least sandpipers. So much better when the sun is behind you, trying to identify these guys, because you can be staring at these guys for days in the wrong lighting and have no idea. So, yep. I made my way up to the second pond. Let's see what we got. There's another group of phalaropes, and I'm standing right next to this pump, so it's really loud, sorry. But just another group of phalaropes. That's pretty much it for this pond, unfortunately. There's an American kestrel, our smallest falcon. There we go. I love these guys. Unfortunately, it's so backlit you can't really see the colors, but oopsies. You can definitely see sleek look. Bobbing head is very much a raptor trait, especially these little kestrels. So if you see that, chances are you're looking at a kestrel. Here's 3 kestrels. For the most part, raptors are solitary species, so whenever you see, where did that one go? Whenever you see, oh, there he's back up. Whenever you see more than one together, you can pretty much assume that it's a family group. And there's at least 1 or 2 others that I don't have in frame here. Oh, there's a 4th one. Sweet. The 2 on the bottom are males. You can tell by the blue on their wings in addition to the red. The 2 on the top, yeah, definitely females. So 2 females on top, 2 males on the bottom. Definitely a family group of some sort. So definitely a cool thing to see out here. I really don't know. I think they're catching insects. Insects are actually a big part of these guys' diet. They're just kind of flying around and catching things out of the air. So I think they're just going for insects for the most part. Checking these trees out. These are on the far end of the second pond. These trees have historically had great horned owls nesting in them, and unfortunately I haven't been able to spot one, but I did happen to look down on the ground. That would be for a great horned owl. So they're definitely still here. There's another one. That's a Canada goose, probably. But yeah, they're definitely still here. They're just, they're owls, so they're pretty good at hiding. This Swainson's hawk that appears to be extremely upset that I'm here. But yeah, there's another one up there. They nest in this area every year, so there's always a good number of them. There's one there, and there's one on the side of that storage area. There's one on top of that pole. So, oh, and there's a kestrel who's very upset now. The kestrels do not like the hawks. I don't know why he looks so grumpy. The one on the left. That is hilarious. These are Swainson's hawks, and as long as I'm teaching how to identify things, it's commonly called a dark bib. It's like the area just under their head where there's kind of a dark bib, and then underneath that is lighter. That's the main identification feature of a Swainson's hawk. The other one is that I think is really useful is the wing length. If you look at where the wings come, especially on this left one, the wings almost pass the tip of the tail. You're not going to see that in most of the other hawks, because most of the other hawks have pretty short wings. Swainson's hawks have pretty agile, long wings. The other thing is, if you look at the tip of the tail, it's got a pretty thick black stripe. There is a black stripe at the tip of a red-tailed hawk's tail, but it's not like that. It's pretty minute. These guys have a pretty strong black bar. The other thing I think is useful is the white chin. It's more so on the right one here in this than the left one, but they definitely do have it, and especially white like over the top of the beak. The beak is also smaller than most of the other hawks, so there's a lot of different identifying features. Also, if you're looking at one from the back, like the one on the right, to identify it from a red tail, not only are the wings long, but you can also see just how uniformly brown the back is. A red tail is not going to be that uniform. It's going to have white streaks, particularly a V-shaped white marking on the back, often called scapular markings. Hopefully you can hear them. They're pretty cool. It's always pretty fun to see baby birds. baby Swainson sock right here. They have very pale heads, almost orange. They're pretty cool looking, I think. But you can see how they can be confused with maybe a red tail. I mentioned before that they have the white markings on the back. This guy has more of the white markings, but they're kind of just generic. They're not a dedicated V shape. So yeah, and there's the variety of other features. The beak is small. The red tail is never going to have a head that looks quite like that. Wings are still pretty long, almost reaching the very tip of the tail. Not going to see that on a red tail. Just how orange it is. You're not really going to see a red-tailed hawk that just looks like this ever. But such a pretty bird. Another thing that is cool about juvenile hawks is that they have a pale colored eye that I'm actually pretty happy with how this is looking. It's a pretty good picture right here. Look at that eye. So pretty. My parents are still very upset. Okay, but I might as well also point out we got another one right there. Who I don't know what he's doing. They do like walking. I don't know why Swainson socks like walking so much. And there's another one. So I guess they have 3. I'm only seeing 3, so I think they have 3 babies. They're successful every single stinking year. They have so many babies every year. But yeah, I'm going to see if I can get around to the front of this guy. I have a feeling he's going to fly off on me, but we'll see. He didn't fly off on me, but unfortunately now he's very backlit. Okay. There we go. Oh, that's pretty fuzzy, isn't it? I don't think I can really fix that. It's a little better. But yeah, look at all that streaking. You can kind of see in the bib area that I was talking about before, there's a little bit more dense streaking. They also have the white throat still, the white around the top of the beak, small beak, very striped tail, and they still have that black tip to the tail. So, yep. This guy does not care that I'm here. He's very curious, probably. It's always a little entertaining to find a great blue heron sitting on a wheel line. In the middle of what is that, sugar beet? Some sort of field. We're here. Unfortunately, there's not really a good way to explain how I'm identifying these, but this is a big group of eared grebes. You can kind of see the tuft on the top of the head. You're also not going to see too many small ducks together like this. Oh man, it's so far out there. But, yep, they're definitely migrating through right now. Here is a western grebe. The only other grebe that looks like this that's here would be Clark's grebe. The identification of this is pretty clear based on the fact that the black cap on the top of the head extends below the eye, so that the eye looks like it's part of the black cap. In a Clark's grebe, that's not going to be the case. The white from the cheek actually encompasses the eye in a Clark's grebe. In addition, the beak color or bill color on a western grebe is going to be way more pale yellow. I don't remember exactly what it is on a Clark's grebe, but it's not exactly that. As a pair of double-crested cormorants. The only other species that you could possibly get here is neotropic cormorant, which is not unheard of. There's actually one in the state right now. But these are definitely not neotropic. You can tell if it's neotropic based on a longer tail on a neotropic. In addition, as you can see, they have kind of a orangish gape next to the beak. On a neotropic cormorant, that's going to have a white stripe bordering it. On these ones, it clearly does not have the white stripe. There's a group of yellow-headed blackbirds in the lawn over here. Looks like a pair of males. Oh, there's a great-tailed grackle. He just went behind the fence, of course. Oh, and here he comes. These guys are extending their range into Idaho. They didn't used to be here. In fact, like 2 years ago, you would never have seen one at this park. Well, maybe you might have seen one occasionally, but for the most part, they're actually expanding their range quite rapidly. Alright, honestly that was pretty disappointing as far as number of birds goes. Normally there's quite a few more birds out on the lake. I did a decent amount of time, or I spent a decent amount of time scoping out farther out on the lake, and there was maybe 4 or 5 California gulls, a couple more grebes way out there. Nothing really worth showing on camera. But typically there's a lot more than that. So I'm going to go off to a different lake because I barely spent any time there, and I think I'll have enough time to go ahead and go there and check it out. So we'll see. This is more like it. We're at Wilson Lake, and there's a lot of gulls here. They're lining the docks, and there's quite a few out in the water as well. So let's check it out. These are pretty much all ring-billed gulls except for this guy. You can tell that they're ring-billed by 2 things. Well, several things, but the 2 main things are yellow legs and the black ring around the bill, obviously. This guy here is obviously different for a couple reasons. One is the gray back is quite a bit darker than the ring-billed surrounding it. In addition, if it will actually lift up its head. Come on. There, red on the bill. They typically have a black ring and red. This one has just more red, but yellow legs plus the red bill plus slightly darker back makes this a California gull. I think this one's a California gull. Come on, focus. Yep. This one next to it is that just stretched its wing. Yeah. That's also a California gull. So, pretty cool. There's a few kind of interspersed. I think that's another one. But for the most part, these are all just ring-billed gulls, including these immatures, the darker ones. So, there's quite a few little things out here. The ones with the white cheeks that are mostly dark, those are ruddy ducks. They've got their little tail that's poking straight up in the air. Pretty cute. There's a whole bunch of eared grebes like we saw on Murtaugh Lake. Those are the kind of drab. You can kind of see the ear, sort of, in some of these. Yeah, you can kind of see it. It's hard to see because they're so far out, but and then there's a whole group of Western and Clark's grebes. This one I'm focusing on here is a Clark's grebe. You can tell by the quantity of white on the sides, and if you can't really see super well. Yeah, you can't really tell. But the white does surround the eye. But you can see it compared directly with a Western on the left, Clark's on the right. There is an enormous quantity of swallows, both in the road here and on this power line. I'm pretty sure they're bank swallows. Yeah, I think they are. Yeah, I mean, look at all of them. Ton of them. All right, I'm done for the day. I just got home, and I think we saw a decent number of pretty cool birds. I think the Swainson hawks were my favorite, but comment down below what was your favorite, and if you liked, maybe consider hitting the like button, and if you want to see more of this kind of content, let me know, and we'll make it happen.